and welcome everyone to Design for Play, Journey Towards Game Design. I'm going to be talking about this topic because I've been obsessing about game design for like 10 years now, and I feel there's still a lot of people who are unaware about play design in general. And I know that play design forms like a basic architecture for a lot of designs out there. Before we dive more deeper into this topic, I would like you guys to think of a toy or a game that you loved to play as a child. It can be anything, but something which you have fond memories of. It can be Lego blocks, it can be a jigsaw puzzle, or it can even be any board game, or it can even be as simple as a car or a doll. Just something which you remember that you played with it for a very long time. Now, before I start again about this topic, I would like to introduce myself. I am Anushree Jain, and I am working currently as a game designer at Miniclip. So I basically come from India, which is a land of diversity and culture and spices, of course. I think it's been a few years that I've been in Europe, but all my childhood and the majority part of my life was in India. So while growing up, or what you would imagine like a stereotypical journey of a game designer to be, mine was not that the same. For us, I don't remember we having Sega or Nintendo or Atari to play with. I think in India we would just have knockoffs of these consoles, something like I don't know, white gray box with a cassette of 99 games. And me and my sister would just play that all day long. And not only these video games, we would also have like a lot of board games, I'm sure, which you might not be aware of. Some of them were Ludo, Snakes and Ladders, and Chinese checkers. Because I remember very clearly that these were some of those games which we played a lot. And not only these toys or games, but in India, we also had a lot of outdoor games. For example, one of them was Coco, which was like a team game. Then we had like marbles, where you just create a circle and then you have marbles inside it and you try to hit one marble with another. Then you also had hopscotch, which was just drawing some pattern on the road or on the street, and then with one leg you jump onto these different numbers. And then of course we had Carom, which was not an outdoor game, but like super interesting family sort of a game. So my point here is we actually did not need these hard toys or games to play with. We would just draw things on the streets or in our houses, and then we would play. So the whole concept of play for us was to just have fun and somehow entertain ourselves. So now, while growing up, I understood that I wanted to be a designer, but the problem was I did not know what kind of designer that I wanted to be. So I joined this institute called as National Institute of Fashion Technology, and I took up the course which was called Product and Lifestyle Accessories. So here they had like a lot of different fashion design, they had textile design, but I saw that I was more inclined towards product design in general. And the most important thing that they taught us was how important design research is. So be it any kind of design that we do, it's very important to base our ideas and our designs on some research. Even the games that we develop these days, I think it's very important to look at the data, to look at who our target audience is, and to understand what their needs and wants are. And then accordingly we can come up with ideas and we can come up with a game or a design that we want to showcase to the world. So while I was going through this course and while I was studying, I also saw that I was slowly inclining more towards toy design. I studied a lot about kids in general. I researched a lot about toys in general. So I knew that this was something maybe which I can pursue further on. But it was too late that I understood this inclination. So I thought, why not? I think I need a little more knowledge on this topic. So I decided to do masters. So I went to this institute called as National Institute of Design in India, and I took up the course Toy and Game Design. So this course was the place which taught me all about play design that I know now, and we studied toy design and game design, and most importantly play design. I read a lot about designing toys. I read a lot about, or I researched a lot about all those things, and it was not as simple as I thought it would be, because I think for toys you need to understand a lot of different things. You need to do like a humongous research on them. So I started reading a lot of psychology books, because while designing a toy, I think one very important thing that I found out was, so my target audience were kids, but the people who would buy my products would be parents. So I had to design something which was liked by both the kids as well as parents. And not only this, there were like several rules around all these toys. What dimensions they should be, what size or what color, or even the packaging, everything had like a big rule book for each country possible. So this was not an easy task, and not only reading or theoretical knowledge, but I also went to a lot of schools and playgrounds to understand how kids react in these environments. Kids will be very different in a school, while they'll be very different in a playground. They would be imagining and using their creativity to play and to have fun, even if they do not have like a physical toy with them. So now that I'm talking about a lot about toy, we can come down to the question about of what is toy. Is it just an object to play with, or is it important to have fun with it? Because I can just take a stone and call it a toy, but I would say a good toy is something what is fun to play with. So it's possible that you take a stone and you play with it, but it might not be fun always. And what's also important is the freedom in terms of the choices you make. So you can, the most important thing is you need to be very free, and you need not be restricted by rules. You can imagine things to be what they're not, and then you can start playing around with it and have fun. So I think all these toys, this is a major source of fueling a child's imagination. You give a kid a car, the kid can imagine the car to be an airplane and fly around with it in the house, or you can also imagine it to be a tank and start destroying objects in the house. So it's all about their own creativity and imagination, that they can perceive things in a way that they're not, and they can start having fun with it. But this also leads me to another question, that is, what is game then? And how is it different from a toy? So I think game is something which you play, but a toy is something that you play with. And I feel games are much more complex than toys, because a stone, I said, can be a toy, but for it to be a game, there needs to be a lot of rules or some constraints around it to make it actually act like a game. But one important thing, or one common thing between both of these things, is fun and pleasure. So either you play with a game or you play with a toy, you need to have fun and pleasure both with it. And another important thing that we are missing is this element of surprise. So you can't keep having fun with something unless there is this element of surprise in it, because I feel fun is pleasure with surprise. Even if you play a game today, why do you think that you go back to that game and play it again and again? The gameplay remains the same, the rules remain the same, but the way you react with that game, or the way game reacts with you, it always creates a bit of curiosity, a bit of surprise for you. So it might not be very much visible, but every time there's something different happening which makes you engaged with the game, or which makes your players play this game every day possible. So this element of surprise is one of the very important ingredients of game design that I would say. Now remember, I told you to think of a game previously, and now think about it again. Why do you think you played with it? Do you think it was fun for you, or did you like doing it? And why did you play with it again and again? I think it was because of sheer curiosity and this element of surprise that you played with it again, because you were always curious about what it could do next, or this surprising element which was there in it and you were not even aware of at that point of time. If I were to give an example of one game which I remember from my childhood, that would be Seven Stones. We called it Pittu at that time, and it's not at all a fancy game. You can just play it in the ground or in the streets or even on a beach. So it was basically a game where you have 7 stones and then you arrange them in a pile, and you have a ball and you hit these stones with a ball. So there are 2 teams, one is seekers and one is hitters, and the goal of the seekers was to arrange these stones back into a pile without getting hit by the ball, and the hitters were the team who would catch the ball and hit the seekers with it. So if you get hit with the ball, you're out of the game, and then the next round starts again. So it was basically a very simple game, no difficult rules, and a very simple gameplay. And but we would like fight about it every day, and then we would quarrel and we would shout at each other. But the best part was we would come back to play this game every day. The rules would remain the same, the people would remain the same, the place would remain the same, but every day was a different surprise for us. We were curious about how it's going to play out today, who's going to get out, or who's going to be the hitter, or who's going to succeed in farming this pile. And every day we would have like a different strategy that we could use to hit someone or to arrange this pile of stones. So all this in all, it comprises of a good game design. All this curiosity, fun, and the surprise, they combine together to form a good game that you would want to show it to your audience. So now that I'm talking about all these games and toys, I would also like to talk about play. There's this favorite book of mine called as Art of Game Design, one of the favorite books, which is written by Jesse Schell, and he defines play as play is a manipulation that indulges curiosity. And I feel which is very correct, because play is quite flexible. You have to manipulate it in a way that you like it, that you should enjoy it or you should have fun with it. And until and unless you have this curiosity or you have this element of surprise within it, you will not enjoy it. And another important thing is it's the highest form of research. So because while you want to create something, if you do a research in a playful manner, or you have some playful experiences behind it, I think this flexibility and this whole combination makes your research much more powerful and much more different than what you would imagine it to be. So it really adds a spark to your design or adds a spark to your research. Play encourages exploration. It allows competition to be constructive. It allows both designers as well as players alike to go beyond their constraints, to be more flexible. And it is how we engage our brains to develop new ideas or come up with new solutions. It's a very not mainstream way to get like amazing solutions for like very difficult problems. If you want to, you should maybe try it once, and I'm sure that this will help you out a lot. So play is unlimited imagination, and what I understand from play is that or what I understood from all these years is that it helps a lot in shaping your personality and your future. I mean, you can learn anything and everything through play. If you take a kid per se, they understand about the world, they understand about physics, they understand about imagination only through play. That's how they understand the different things that are going around them. It's only after or while you're growing up you understand that you need to be critical, you need to be judgmental, or you need to form goals and you have to execute them. But while you are a kid, the only important things for you are using your creativity to imagine a lot of stuff. And I think while we're growing up, this part somewhere gets lost. So that is where we as game designers come into play, where we create a world, or we create something wherein people can relive those childhood imaginations or those childhood memories, where they can imagine themselves to be anything, and they can create and they can use their creativity in any possible way. So I feel these games, they're like a bridge between those lost childhood memories and the current scenario which you are in. There's a very nice song by Mary Poppins, A Spoonful of Sugar, where she says, "In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, that job's a game." So for me, what play is, it is something which is done for its own sake, and we play because we like to. If we don't like to do it, it probably isn't play. It involves a lot of free will, and it involves a lot of your own imagination and creativity. So an invisible principle of all play would be that whoever plays, plays freely, and whoever must play cannot play. So after gathering all this knowledge and understanding everything about play design, in my institute I also learned a lot about game design, and I could relate both of these things together quite well. After this, I got a really nice opportunity to go to this university called the Zurich University of Arts in Switzerland, which I think was the start of my journey as a game designer. I learned almost a lot of things about game design, including coding and art and storytelling and animation, sound design, level
tens
design,
os links
any
trocados
possible
na,
thing that I
na
could
sheet,
think of.
só
I
para te
even
confirmar.
learned how to make my own game in Unity, which was a
Sim.
big thing for me at that time. But most
E ao contrário.
importantly, I think what I saw was Europe.
Sim.
As I said, I've been living in
Okay.
India for almost all my life, and then when I went to
Exatamente.
Europe, it was completely different. Not only by the looks of it, but also the whole
E eu
work
dei-te os links
culture
certos, alguém
and
te disse o
people
errado.
and the whole environment, everything was completely
Anushree?
different, and which actually helped me
can
to
you enter
expand my
this,
viewpoint a lot. And this
that I
passion
just sent you a
towards
link to?
exploring a lot of other things, and the
Espera.
passion towards game design, I think it led me to where I
Mas
am
o
right now.
GDCamp está a streamar
So finally,
da sala agora.
when I was done with all my studies, I decided that I would go to this studio called as Digital Society School. This was in Amsterdam, and it was a very cool studio wherein they bring students and graduates together to work on a life project. So I got the opportunity to work with a company called as Exodus, who were doing a very noble job of reintegrating ex-prisoners with the society. So we saw there's a big loop wherein when people come out of prison, they go back, it's difficult for them to adjust into the society, and they go back into the system. So we wanted to understand what their problems were, we wanted to understand what their issues were, to come down to a solution. But this topic is very serious, and it's very difficult to talk to them about all these things. So I thought, why not use my previous knowledge of play design and use it to do research so that I can come down to a solution. So I created a board game which was an emotional game wherein we would play it with these people, and then we would try to talk to them in a very playful manner. And we in general then understood a lot of things that we might not have if we were to talk to them straightforwardly. So we understood what their problems were and what are they actually expecting out of a solution or out of a product that we are going to design, which helped us a lot in creating what we did at that time. So after I was done with this project, then I went to another cool company called as GDCamp2020. It's also based in Netherlands, and I worked on a lot of mobile games in the genre of idle game. So I worked on idle games and idle battlers and auto battlers, which was an amazing journey in itself. And I can more elaborate on that, but it's like a huge topic, and maybe we can keep it for some other time. And then finally, I went to Miniclip, where I am right now currently, and I'm sure you might know about this. So, in general, I would say that these elements of play, they give us an ability to think and act freely, be more creative, imagine more things, and they also allow us to embrace uncertainty with curiosity and excitement. They help us to create and challenge a lot of rules, because then this is how we can come up with something very different and something which people will like. I feel as a game designer, it's my responsibility to make my players feel good and positive about my design. And I think players are the most important people that we care about in our jobs. And even if we talk about players, there are two kinds of players. So one type of players would be, for them, fun consists of hard challenges that stretch their abilities to the extreme. While there are others for whom a pleasurable experience is casual interaction, aesthetics, and beauty. So our agenda would be to create a game which can cater to both of these players and still be more fun and entertaining and satisfying. I think the very essence of our job is to bring things to players they didn't even know they wanted. And I think that is why probably we all fall in love with games at the first place. I can go on about this topic for a very long time, but I think I must conclude now. I am super thankful for all you guys to listening to me, and I'm very glad to be sharing all my knowledge and my findings with you guys. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn or anywhere. Let me know if you have any questions. I would like to end with a question. Are you ready to play? Thank you. Hello. Okay, so I have some questions here which I can answer now. What made you do the jump from toys to video games? I think for me, I was firstly interested into toys and stuff, but then later on, as I started studying more about toys and I started studying more about games in general, I learned how the whole game design process works. So there was a lot of difference between toys, because it was mostly physical and I would make them with, wood, plastic, rubber and all that stuff. But digital was all about art and a little bit of coding, and then creating something which is visible on your small screen. So I think just understanding all the different aspects of game design, it just created a bit of interest in me. I think much more than what I had in toy design. I mean, I still have a small place in my heart for play design and toy design in general, but I feel it's just this different type of digital creativity that we are moving towards, and I don't know, a little bit of what can I say? A little bit of this whole digital aspect, and it's not only limited to entertainment, and as I said, it's also it can go around any part of the industry. It can be into serious gaming, and it can be into educational, it can even be for kids. So I mean, turning anything into the small digital format and presenting it to people, I think that was what made me change towards game design. I'll go to the second question. What are the biggest misconceptions, in your opinion, in the toy or the game relation? I think one of the biggest misconception about games is, if you play violence games like Call of Duty or PUBG or all these things, it creates violence in kids and people, which I feel is completely wrong. Because I've read a lot, I've seen a lot of surveys, I've talked to a lot of gamers in my life, with players in my life, and it is nothing like that. In fact, I think games, they're a biggest platform to de-stress yourself. It's like they help you develop your cognitive skills, they help you develop your emotional skills, they help you in so many different ways which you might not have known. And the thing is, it's not very direct. The best part is, you don't even know that you're evolving, because with playing games, you're working so much, and then if you want to have some free time, you can go and play with these games. And there's so many different genres, and there are so many different kind of platforms that you can use. So I think you can just choose wherever, whatever you want. You're waiting for something, you can play these games. You are stuck somewhere, you can play these games. I mean, they help you in so many different ways that you don't even understand. So this conception wherein they create violence or they change your behavior or it's not good for kids, I really don't believe that. And I think even the educational gaming industry is booming so much because a lot of people, because cities are growing, population, especially in India at least, population is growing, so people don't have a lot of space to go out and play. And even in these COVID times, you have all these educational apps and you can make your kids play and learn all those things. I mean, rather than learning things from all those theoretical books, if you learn things while doing something, that's the best part. Learn by doing, I think, is the best motto or is the best practice that we can do. Then my third question would be, what was the biggest lesson you learned with playing with toys? I think the biggest thing which I learned was it need not be something very constructive. It can be something very simple, and there are these senses that we as humans we have those, right? Touch, smell, see, hear, all those things. I feel touch is one sense which is very important while growing up in your childhood days, because you touch something and you understand how this feels. And these toys, the way they are created, the way each game is created, I think it helps a lot in your development. Because even if you see mobile games right now, they all have this haptic feedback in it. And why do you think they are growing so much? Because there's nothing much in those games. I mean, there's no creative or like a big message behind those games, but it's just you touch and this feeling, it's something which you like. All these hyper casual games which are coming out into the industry, like baking or doing normal chores that you do every day in your life, you still like playing those games because of this haptic feedback that you're getting. So I feel this was something which started from toys, wherein when you were a kid and you would just play with them and you learn so much out of it. You imagine things to be, you become creative, you take one thing and you change it into some other thing. It completely, I think, changes your personality. It helps develop your personality. It helps develop your future. So I say, yeah, that was one of the biggest things that I learned while playing, as well as by studying and experiencing it. For the fourth question now, what are the key learnings from your experience that applies to you day-to-day job and game design ideas you develop? Nice question though. I think in day-to-day job and all these things, as a game designer, I feel it's very important for me to pitch a lot of ideas, and it's very important for me to keep thinking about a lot of creative concepts that come into mind. Because I feel even as a game designer, when you're stuck with some game and not stuck, when you're working on some game, so you end up working on that game for like a year or more than that. And if it's a AAA studio, then you'll be working on it for like 5 years or something. But then I feel this creativity that you have in yourself, it should not get lost. So I keep using that thing. I mean, I play a lot of games, not only video or PS or something, but I also play a lot of board games and all that such. I keep looking at different things which are going in the trend so that I maintain my creativity all throughout. I think it's very important that we should not lose that behind. This is something which I have seen in myself, and this is also something which I've seen in other game designers that I've read about or that I've met. It's quite an important task to do, and it's quite important to remember to keep that spark in you. I think, yes, that's it. Those were my questions. It was super nice being here.